So, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm anxious for for thanks to them to come out. I'm very, very anxious for the Owl House tomorrow.
Yeah. It's gonna be exciting.
I know it is. I've been a huge fan of this show since I think 2020, and I'm ready to see how it ends. I mean, it's not going to end now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. The start of the end. Yeah.
So,
I'm excited to see it too because yeah.
yeah, same
I know it
here.
happens, but I haven't seen it animated yet.
I'm just excited to see a lot of gay witches. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah.
Because you know me, I'm a huge Lumity fan.
Hmm. Me too.
So let's start this with the first question is, would you explain what a color designer does on a show for the audience new to the title?
Yeah. So color design is the last step of pre-production. So you've
Mhm.
got, you start with your writers and your biz dev artists and storyboards, and then that stuff gets turned into designs, and we color the designs. So any we get these assignments in basically black and white, line art files,
Yeah.
and we assign the color pots to each. Every single color that you see on the show that is not a background, basically.
So is it a
um,
difficult choice?
Depends what you're doing. Designers they do the characters, the props, special effects. Um, so my I like doing the characters a lot. I think
Hmm.
that comes kind of easily to me, but doing special effects takes a lot more brain and like playing with the blending modes and making stuff magical or making stuff realistic. Yeah, so color designers do all that stuff.
Oh, that sounds pretty cool. So
Yeah.
you worked on Rick and Morty and The Owl House. What was your experience working on those two shows? Like, were there any difference and similarities between a color designer on Rick and Morty and The Owl House?
Yeah, definitely. Every single production is different. Um, and that goes for any position basically in animation. You're going to find that production to production, it's going to be a different setup, different organization, different programs entirely. Like I used Photoshop for Rick and Morty to color stuff in, but for the Owl House, we used Toon Boom Harmony and assigned all of the pots to colors. And yeah, it's a lot different. Um, but so there's some overlap, like like when I worked on Morty, you might do lots of props that are like iPads and like regular human stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of work. And then when I was working on the Owl House at the same time, I was kind of like, oh, I'm like learning from each show together kind of at the same time.
What was your inspiration for pursuing a career in animation and art?
I always knew I wanted to be an artist.
Mhm.
And when it came time to pick a school because, like everyone's whole thing was like, oh, you graduate high school and you go to college. That was kind of like what we were expected to do. So I thought, oh, I'll go to art school. And I studied animation and well, my degree is in media arts and animation. And I got to study 2D animation, 3D animation, sculpting, modeling, stuff like that. And I was just always drawn to 2D animation. I loved it. I loved illustration and making
Mhm.
2D animations. And at the time, there was all this top line and like even among professors that was like, oh, 2D animation is dead. It's a dying art. Like you're not going to be able to get a job in 2D animation. And I was like, well, that's a bummer. But I always wanted to do it and I just kept up and I knew that, TVA was still going strong and I would love to work at a place like Disney or Cartoon Network or Nick and stuff like that. That's what I grew up on. That's my favorite cartoons and stuff. So yeah, always knew I wanted to be an artist and it was really hard to pick because I knew I wanted to work in the animation industry, but I also wanted to work in the comic industry. So I
Oh,
kind of had my foot in both worlds, and it was really hard to choose one to focus on. I still really haven't. I'm making a graphic novel right now at the same time as looking for more animation work. So I just love all of it, and it took me a long. I just got my lucky break as a color designer, and I figured out that I'm really good at it. And people keep telling me that I'm good at it, so I'm like, oh, guess I'm a
I
color
mean,
designer now.
I've seen your color design on the Owl House. It's really great.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, it's kind of funny how like in hindsight, I always colored everything that I worked on, and I loved coloring things and making colorful illustrations. And it never really clicked in my head that I could be a color designer for animation. I think I didn't know a lot about that position. I didn't know that I was qualified for it basically. And, I just gave it a shot and I really like it.
That's good. Like I hope you do find more like you find more color design like in a show because you really show them a lot in the Owl House and shows like Rick and Morty, which are two big shows right now and like both respective channels, like Cartoon Network and Disney Channel.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm really lucky that I got to be on two really cool productions like that.
So, what is your favorite shows growing up?
Growing up. Well, I loved everything on Cartoon Network, Nick, and Disney because on my cable TV provider, like it was channel 45, 46, 47. So whenever I got bored of one, I could just flip to the other one, or
It was
like
the
when the
same for me.
commercials
I
came
was
on one, that
17,
was
18, and 19. That was my channel, 17, 18, 19. And I just kept going
nice.
back to Toonami, to Nick and all that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. But specific shows, I loved Teen Titans. That was my
that's a good one.
jam. I would I love that so much. So upset when it uh, unexpectedly ended.
Oh, you mean that one about
Um,
Terra?
yeah, I really liked Code Lyoko. Don't laugh at me, but
Oh,
I love that show.
I
So
love that show. My best friend is such a hardcore fan of that show, and they still love it. It used to come on Magoozy a lot.
what else? I mean, I watched everything that was on. I watched SpongeBob reruns all the time. Um, I really loved Phineas and Ferb when I was in high school. And I think that was kind of my moment where I realized, like, oh, I'm really into cartoons. Because, like as a kid, everyone likes cartoons.
Mhm.
And then I get to high school and, like, I'm the one that's still watching Saturday morning cartoons and wearing Phineas and Ferb shirts and stuff. And I became the Perry girl in high school. Like, I just obsessed with Perry the Platypus.
I
And
think we all were
and
at one
then,
point.
yeah, and then towards the end of high school, like right before I started college, I think, was when Gravity Falls came out, and I was just enamored with the story, and I was kind of like, I think that was one of my first like appreciations for serialized animation and like animation that tells like an unfolding story. and not just like silly, goofy,
Yeah.
Saturday morning cartoon kind of stuff. Uh, yeah, I really liked Gravity Falls, and that's where I was introduced to like Alex Hirsch's work and Dana Terrace's work. And then from there, I liked Steven Universe a lot. I was following that all through college. And,
That that
that was
that
just huge at the time.
that is my go-to to my go-to show. I had no interest in Steven Universe until I saw the episode about Ruby and Sapphire. And then I was just like, this is allowed? Oh my God.
No, yeah, it was huge at the time. And I think when Steven Universe first came out, like 2013, I thought it was going to be another goofy Saturday morning cartoon because some of those first episodes,
They
Steven's
they
like
they
the
had
phone.
the
Yeah, and then I I don't remember which episode that I real like I it really hooked me. I can't remember which one, but when I realized like how heartfelt it was, I was hooked. And then all the Ruby and Sapphire stuff happened, and I was just like jaw on the floor when I saw
yeah,
that,
I was too.
and I
Like
was
and I just had to
yeah.
come back and watch a lot more of it. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is just a special show to me. And I am vastly protective over it whenever somebody try to talk bad about it.
Yeah, I get that. I know it's one of those things. Whenever something blows up and gets really popular, you're gonna have the people who really love it and will die for it, and the people that are critical of it, or people that just want to hate it. You know,
Yeah,
it's all over the place. Just what happens when stuff gets popular.
yeah, true. Now, my next question is: the Owl House is a show with explicit LGBTQ representation on Disney. How important is queer representation in kids' television? Do you think it makes a difference or to impact kids and adults, especially those in the LGBTQ spectrums? Has queer representation in kids' television become better, or are there ways to improve more representation in the animation industry?
Is it important? Absolutely. I think that's just a fact. Uh, you know, I was in college when I started to realize that I was a lesbian, and this was right around the time that Steven Universe started introducing Ruby and Sapphire. And, that was pivotal to me, being able to see that on TV as I was coming out and being like, it was just really important to me personally. So I can speak to that personally, that the representation
Hmm.
matters, and lit a fire in me to be like, this is okay. This is sweet. This is beautiful. Like, because, when when I was coming out, and this is true for a lot of people, you might struggle with some internalized shame or just, fear.
Yeah,
And
I
it's a
felt that.
new thing you're realizing about stigmatized. Yeah. So, like, being able to see it in this adorable cartoon and realize that a not only just a corporate entity, but just like, I don't know, just like a universal thing that's being broadcasted throughout America, like it's huge. And especially for kids, being able to see that, it's a conversation starter for people that have never had that conversation yet. It's normalizing it in a very important way. And, um, just a comfort to LGBTQ kids as well, to be able to see that and have, you know, just have it.
Yeah, I
And
see what you mean.
yeah,
Like, I really like how there's a lot of LGBTQ shows now that are just more comfortable, and it allows these kids to grow up and realize like there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with like being in love with the same sex, or you can love any other one. Like if you're like pan, if you're like bisexual, or if you're aro, or if you're asexual or poly. Like it doesn't matter. You can love
yeah,
who you want to be, and you shouldn't feel shame for it. And I just think that's what I love about shows like Steven Universe, The Owl House, and Shira. Like all that positive queer that I see, like with characters like say, like with Ruby and Sapphire, or Luce and Amity, or if I want to talk more about it, it'd be like, or maybe Ida and Rain.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a huge non-binary representation right there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and to circle back to the question, it's so important for it to be in children's media because for so long and to this day, there is that stigma that LGBTQ automatically makes something adult content. And that is something that I have been fighting against my whole career, being able to say, like, no, there are kids that are LGBTQ. It's no different than a
Yeah,
straight relationship as far as, you know, objectionable content. And being able to have that on TV is an important step to saying to society, like, you know, this is normal. It's not adult or dirty or, you know, sexual.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
yeah.
Like I just I it's you're right about that because like a lot of people be saying a lot of parents be saying like how it's just dirty nonsense and how it's just sexualizing children and exactly how exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up watching all sorts of princes and princesses that fall in love with each other and share a kiss. And I'm not straight. So that's not like that. It's not like that
Hmm.
ingrained in me anything. It's not like that was inappropriate for me to watch as a kid. I love romance as a kid. I think I have such a soft spot for romance still. And, you know, it has its genre if you want to have that adult content, but it also can be for kids as well. And it doesn't have to be this huge debate every time about how, you know, because they're LGBT, that's inappropriate. Yeah, it's just nonsense.
Yeah, couldn't say it better myself.
Mhm.
Now, in the due deal for animation, there are new informations on color designers not getting fair pay, not including in animation. What is your take on the issue, and how can it be rectified for equal treatment?
It's hard to answer because the it's up to the studios to level with us, and we just recently went through those negotiations, and it improved slightly, but there is still that pay gap there.
Hmm.
And it's just going to take another round of negotiations, another push over the next few years once they start to renegotiate the contracts. Um, yeah, that it's very upsetting,
Yeah.
especially becoming a color designer as all this conversation was, you know, getting louder and realizing that my position wasn't being paid fairly. And yeah, and it's a lot of work. I think if this changes anyone's mind who's listening, like it's not just a point and click and like, color in the blanks. Like it's literally hundreds of files coming in. Anything that's a prop, anything that moves, anything that's a character, anything that changes the character, like a blush or a scar or magic or lighting, changes in lighting, changes in daytime and nighttime, dramatic lighting. There's just so much stuff. And I probably have hundreds of files on my computer for the Owl House and hundreds more for Rick and Morty because
Yeah.
that one's a really heavy asset show as well. And obviously, it'll change from production to production. You might have a production that is a little easier on the color designers because not as much stuff is uh, being designed or moving, but like it's a lot. And the idea that I think studios think that that color design is not a hard job. Uh, and we were also doing all sorts of special effects in Harmony, like any sort of magic that the crew does in Owl House. Um, lots, so much stuff. Anything that glows, anything that uh, has like a anime kind of glow to it. All of
Yeah.
that stuff is what we're applying to it along with post-production. Sometimes they are handling that or boosting that. But yeah, it's a lot.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I do hope this problem does get fixed because people in animation do deserve a lot of respect and they do deserve equal pay because during the pandemic there was like a lot of things like animation was basically like the remaining source for a lot of entertainment and people worked their well pardon my language worked their asses off giving the show like creating these shows and now that the quarantine is no longer a thing and people are going back to it and stuff like Warner Brothers are doing stupid things like in Cartoon Network it just feels like this is disrespect, a very big disrespect to people working in animation.
It's yeah, the news has been pretty dire lately. Um, but we'll get through it. I know it's just upsetting all around.
It
Uh,
is.
yeah, I think the thing about the color design that still really upsets me is that uh, I don't know if you know the reason why there's a pay gap, but it's because the ink and paint department was historically majority women.
Mm.
Back in the old days of Disney, they used to call it the hen house because that's where all the ladies worked, and basically they were in charge of filling in the colors for like any kind of cells, and um, so historically they were paid less. That reflected in the contracts, and nowadays color designers are still majority women, um, and I think that also plays a part in it. The studios would never admit to that because then that means they're guilty of it. But their reasoning is that they don't need to pay us that much. Uh, but it's just not fair when you look at it reflected with all the other people. And there's a bunch of other things that aren't fair. There's a bunch of stuff going on with the new deal with TV writers not being paid the same as live action writers.
Yeah.
Um, Timing artists were getting shortchanged, and yeah, there's just a lot of stuff all around with that. Um, I think negotiations helped a little bit, but there's still a long way to go. And especially with these mergers happening, that's all upsetting news. And, you know, capitalism is at the root of it. But yeah, I just wish that these CEOs would consider their employees and their livelihoods and, you know, how much cartoons mean to people. I think it also boils down to that. I think people don't really think cartoons matter, or they don't feel seriously about it. They think it's just for kids.
Yeah,
Never
that's
mind the fact
that's a
that
lot I think
kids are
too.
the number one viewers of the streaming content. So it's just a lot of contradictions. It's a lot
It
of
is.
unfair stigmatizing of cartoons and people who work on them. Yeah, it's a lot.
It is. But I'll ask a more lighthearted question to ease up the mood is currently you're working on a sapphic graphic novel called Girls Give Me Butterflies, right? And
I
what is the premise of the story? What inspires you to create such a story? What can fans expect from your graphic novel?
yeah. Let me pull up the the description of it. Um, Young Brooke begins to feel flustered and tongue-tied around girls while voice a little figment who manifests all of Brooke's innermost thoughts. So the whole graphic novel is following Brooke as she begins to realize that she likes girls,
Mm-hmm.
and internally she's like, no, that's not me. Like, no, 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 no. I don't I don't want this. I don't want to be feeling this way. These are my friends. We're just friends. Um, so there's a lot of internalized pushback and suppressing these feelings that she has. Meanwhile, Sprout is this little figment of her imagination, and it's following her around. It's talking about how much these girls, these girls are pretty and I want to hang out with them, and you know,
Yeah.
just authentically expressing themselves. And the whole book is just, Brooke fighting back and not wanting to accept this part of herself. Not the whole book, obviously. Stuff happens, but
I would have
that's
loved to
the
have a book
premise.
like this back when I was a kid. I would have loved to have a book like this.
Yeah, I wished I had sapphic media growing up. There really wasn't anything that I can think of anyway. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be cute. It's gonna be heart wrenching and it's fun, and I'm excited. And I'm still very much in the middle of it. I'm working on line art now, but most of the story is nailed down. So yeah,
Well,
coming
hey, I'm
along.
excited for it. I'll be sure to grab a book whenever it comes out.
Yay, thank you. Yeah, that would be great. Could use all the support I can get because who knows what's going to happen. I have no idea what to expect. This is my first time making a graphic novel, being a part of the publishing world and stuff. So yeah,
Hey, I'll
just
hey,
flying by
I'll
the
think
seat of
it's
my pants.
I think it's gonna do good. I think judging by what you said, but the description, it's gonna be very it's gonna feel very good. It's a word. It's a word. Dang it. I had a word here. It's gonna be very something. Dang it. I had something
Well,
here.
let me know when you come up with the word.
I will. I will. But do you have any advice for aspiring color designers or people pursuing career in animation?
Yeah, I actually just answered an email the other day about this, so I can kind of give you a quick rundown. Um, Specifically breaking into color design, um, make a portfolio, uh, make sure that your contact info is very readily available. You want your email for recruiters. They don't always use, like those little you have a website and you have those little boxes that you can email someone in. Uh, I think a lot of recruiters prefer to have your email on hand so that they can copy it and save it for later. That's just a little tip I've heard anyway. Um, but yeah, as far as your portfolio, you want to show that you can color characters. You want to show that you can color those same characters in different lighting changes. So like have like a daytime one, maybe a sunset one where there's like some kind of warm tones, maybe like an early morning dawn kind of one where the tones are maybe like more blue, purpley. Nighttime, you're going to be doing a lot of stuff at nighttime or with like dramatic lighting. So like I had some in my portfolio like for like a Halloween scene where there's lots of green light around. That's not something you usually see naturally, but
Yeah.
it's really fun to show that you can play with lighting. Um, you can also color props. You can color uh, like special effects. And my advice is if you have other friends in animation who are character designers or prop designers, talk to them and maybe you can kind of do a little collab where they give you their line art and you can practice coloring on it. And you can put that on your website with credit if they're okay with that. I've done that a couple times for people who needed line art. But yeah, or just to practice. Uh, yeah, and just have that portfolio ready and available and share it and uh, participate in Portfolio Day on Twitter. We just had one um, on last Tuesday, I think. Their Portfolio Days happen 4 times a year, I think. On the second Tuesday of, uh, I'm not going to say it right. I know it's October, might be like July and March or something in January. Anyway, you can look that up later. I don't want to give you the wrong info, but
Yeah.
Portfolio Day. That's how I got my job with Rick
Yeah.
and Morty, I believe, because someone saw that, someone saw that I was looking for color design work, and someone reached out to me. So yeah,
That's good.
that's my
Like
advice for color designers.
Like I hope a lot of my mutes who are color designers can watch this because I believe they can make it out there. Who is your favorite character in the Owl House?
Don't ask me this question.
Oh,
I love all of them so much.
same here.
Um, no, I'm like chronically bad at picking favorites anyway. Uh, Obviously, I love Luce because she is our protagonist, and um, love her. I love her personality.
Her personality is such adorable. I love her voice
Yeah,
actress Sarah Robles is very good at Loose.
yeah, and we don't usually see like accurate nerd girls, I think. Like that first episode where she was like, I want to edit like anime clips to music,
I do that
and
a
like
lot,
that
so
was
I can identify.
right. Like it's like I made AMVs as a kid. That's so funny. And yeah, and I love her, and she's going through it right now, and so that's hard to watch. But
Yeah, I hope she
I
works
just
through
love
it
everything
though.
about her writing. Hmm. And I love Amity. I love Amity and Luce together. I love Willow because she's such a badass. I love Gus because he was like the comic relief in the first season, but we get to learn more
Hmm.
about him and his insecurities, and like I think that episode where uh, Willow teaches him how to get through a panic attack, like
That is such
yeah, so
a
helpful.
very relatable moment because I deal with anxiety a lot, and sometimes I just have to remind myself to calm down, take deep breaths because
Yeah.
it's hell.
Yeah, I have major anxiety too. I'm just gonna list why I love all the characters. They're all my
Hmm.
favorite. I love Vita because she's foxy and she knows she's attractive and owns it, and
I have to say Lilith is
she
more attractive,
embraces
but
her she embraces like her inner like goblin mode,
mhm.
and I love Rain. I love all of the coven heads, honestly. Um, I I could look at that art that I did where I drew all of them, but
Oh,
I
I
was
saw
just drawing
the
them
recent
because I'm
one. It
like,
just
I love this one.
looks so beautiful. It's not all of it, but I can't we couldn't see all of it, but it just looks so beautiful and I can't wait to see it. We'll see the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
I think the last question is um what do you say to the people who are excited for the first special tomorrow?
Bring tissues and get excited. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I can't tell you what's gonna happen, but you're gonna love it. You're gonna cry. Um,
I cried during
yeah.
Steven Universe, so this isn't anything new to me.
I'm yeah, this is a really hard question to answer because I don't want it to be picked apart
Yeah,
and
that's
like
understandable.
I don't want to freak out or anything. It's just like, are they happy tears? Are they sad tears? I'm not gonna tell you. Um, maybe both.
I'm
But
good with both. I
um,
can cry happy and sad. That's what I do. But
yeah,
I'm just excited for these. I'm just excited for these
and maybe
specials, and I'm just ready to hold my dog and just cry with her.
yeah.
But also a little shout out to Saitaku, aka Chloe. She made these questions, and she's a big fan of yours. She just
Oh,
really
hello.
she loves your art.
Well, thank you.
Mhm. And I want to say thank you for agreeing to this and like just being a cool person overall.
Aw, thank you. I don't think I'm that cool, but it's
Oh,
nice to hear.
oh, please, Shaw, you're epic cool.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You as well.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and again, thank you, and I can't wait to see your work on the Owl House tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm just gonna like stand there and point at the TV every time like something I colored come on and be like, I did that. I painted that. I I did
It
that.
feels good to have your work be in a very big show on Disney.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm so excited and so I don't I get emotional when I think about how much I love the show and the crew and everything. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
very excited and very excited for the world to see.
Oh yes, spectacular. That's the word I was looking for. Spectacular. That's what it is.
Oh
That's
yay! I love it.
anyways,
Thank you.
I'm no problem. I'm gonna let you go right now. It's because I don't want to keep you too much busy. So
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
no problem.
Have a great
You
day.
you as well. Peace.